Hello and welcome to Medals and Mics with me, Derval Rob.
With me, David Gillick.
Myself, Rob Heffernan.
This podcast looks inside the life of us trying to be our best on a global stage.
Like all great journeys, it didn't always go to plan, yet the lessons learned can be applied to everyday life.
Every week we'll talk about winning major medals, Olympic Games, new challenges, our sporting careers and everything in between. Enjoy listening.
Thanks for being here.
We hope you enjoy listening.
Welcome to Medals and Mics. I'm Rob Heffernan.
And I'm David Gillick.
And I'm Derval Rob, and this week we are talking about everything that is involved when you're right bang in the middle of a sports career.
So the homecoming. You've gone to the Olympics, you've come back. You've done 5 of them though.
Yeah, you've had a lot.
I did 5 of them.
Were they all so different?
They're all different phases of my life and different people, and like when I look back to Sydney, I don't recognise that person, like
Who you were then?
Yeah, so young, like, and I think it's from the background that I came from, because all of these things helped shape me then, and I'm very adaptable to everything. When I look back, it was like whether it was Brother Dooley saying your scholarship material or going to the European Junior, it never ended. I was so curious all the time, wanted to get better. But I remember coming back from, so when we went to Sydney, Dave, afterwards, it was me, Rob Daly, Paul Opperman, all of us stayed on after. All young, so talented the boys were. And we stayed in Bondi Beach, we went up the Gold Coast, went to Fraser Island, on the complete lash. And I can remember we were in Brisbane one night, we were staying in a hostel, and it just dawned on me, it was like, I had $20 left, I had no money in my bank account. And we went and we got beer out of the $20, like, and we were eating food from other people in the fridge in the hostel. So imagine being in an Olympic village, thinking you're an absolute superstar, now after running out of money up the Gold Coast. And I'm ringing my mama home and I said, if I don't get out of here now, I'm not going to be an athlete anymore. And I came home from there and I was so disappointed in my performance. I felt so ashamed. Yeah. I can remember coming back to Cork and my friend's brother said, do you know what we'll get you doing now? We'll get you walking up Patrick's Hill. That will make you very strong. I'm going to see for real. But I came home and I trained so hard that winter. And I think the danger, like everyone was going on about the Olympic hangover. And I didn't, like, I went the opposite way, trained really, really hard. And I emailed Robert Korjanowski the following. He won the Olympics, he won the 20k and the 50k. And I got a picture with him at the closing ceremony. And you know, we have all hang-ups of where we come from. Everyone has. And I was always like, I was small, working class area. And I got a picture with Robert at the closing ceremony and he was smaller than me. And he's after winning 3 Olympics now at this stage. So I'm like, I've no excuse now. Yeah. And I trained really hard all winter, broke Irish records indoors, walked 18:50 the following year for 5k indoors. And I emailed Robert and I told him how much I admired him, and he invited me to go to South Africa to train. And it was game changer. And if I didn't meet him, and that's when you were going on about Loughborough, it was just a different world. But still, like, going away with him, it still took me another 3 or 4 years to really learn how to structure and plan and organise my training to get the return off it, because it was still all haphazard. Like, it was jumping into his sessions with no plan or structure, but still training really hard. And you're naturally getting better when you're young anyway. But yeah, and that's what that Olympics did for me. It kind of made me realise, fuck it, I need more. I'm at the bottom of the food chain here, like.
So did you think then, like, and probably there of yourself, like, you come back from the Olympics, you think you've made it? Like, is this the pinnacle? Grand, I'm going to get gear contracts, I'm going to make a lot of money. You know, the next couple of years are all set out for me.
I remember running in Athens. I remember everything about Athens, honestly, was a disappointment. Like, sorry, now I'm trying not to be depressing. Like, I'll try and crack some jokes in a while, but like everything was, because I had built it up to that in my head. So I was like, if I qualify for Olympic Games, all the sacrifices, and they're not really sacrifices. When people talk about sacrifice, you're making life choices. I didn't sacrifice anything. I made different life choices when I was in college to try and get to an Olympic Games. And I got there and I came back from Athens totally broke. Like, I was completely broke. I don't know what grant I was on, but it was pretty minimal. And I went on a really cheap holiday to Turkey on the lash. Came back, because it's a real athlete thing. I think people often don't realise, you have a month a year where you can kind of do it. So hit it, went in the lash, and I came back and I started working a telesales job. So I went from like being in an opening ceremony at the Olympic Games to cold calling people in a telesales centre, trying to sell them membership to a hotel chain. And I was going to used to get the bus. So I used to get up at 7 o'clock in the morning, go to the gym, then get the bus into town in Dublin, do my telesales for 5 hours to have enough cash to be able to pay rent or whatever. But I remember actually after my first Olympics, it was a massive, like, hitting back down to earth with a thud, like, boom, bang. You're in a telesales centre now and you don't know what you're going to do with your life. And I decided I'd give athletics 2 years. I'd never ever thought I was going to go to another Olympics. I said, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give athletics 2 years. Going to finish out my postgrad because I'd halved it. So I was going to finish it out, going to have to work telesales, have a few quid. I'm going to give it 2 years and then I'll get a real job. And a year and a half later, I won World Indoors.
It's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah. And that fundamentally changed my career then. So I suppose the aftermath of that Olympics was I became, not dissimilar to Rob, became really professional. Yeah, I was working telesales, but I was also like, what am I going to do about my nutrition? I went eyes wide open, you know. I'm not good enough at this, I'm not good enough at that. And I just started to put way better structures in place, started to put good people around me, started to go, I'm going to do 2 years really, really well. And then I'm going to walk away happy. I'm going to go, you know what, I've maxed out. I'm going to walk away happy. At that stage I knew I was going to be, 24, 20, I was going to probably be 24. I was like, I'll just go and get a real job then. And then what ended up happening was all those structures and all that focus paid back and I started making a breakthrough. But Beijing was different. So like, you know, I would have gone to Beijing and I would have gone to London. Again, not dissimilar to Rob. They were all different.
Yeah.
None of them, they all changed my life actually.
Well, definitely on the fly home from Beijing, yeah. Well, Rob, did you hear this?
I did.
Mile high.
That's how I got a husband. Yeah, look. I didn't get a medal,
Got a husband.
but I got a husband. You know, I went to Beijing and I said it's either a medal or a husband. And just...
You left it late though, Jesus, just before you landed, was it?
Just before we
And told her, here, Derv, you're coming off the back of the plane.
Yeah.
She was down there
I was
anyway.
beside you. She's down there anyway.
Get Derval over to the bathroom.
I'm not gonna address these rumours about me. Yeah, Beijing was a disaster on an on-track performance, Gilly, but my off-track performance was far superior.
10 out of 10.
Yeah,
Go on, tell us, what
I was
did you
higher
do?
than a 6.5. I was much higher than a 6.5. Beijing, disaster, was gutted, sat next to my now husband on the plane on the way home.
Who, so people know, was there to compete as well.
He was there to compete, he was not just looking.
He wasn't just a randomer.
Will you tell us who he is?
Random
You know what
lad.
I mean? It's the secret.
Okay.
Poor lad.
Peter O'Rourke and O'Leary were sitting next to each other on the plane the way home. And do you know what, right? And you will understand this. I got on the plane. It feels so massive when the Olympics doesn't go the way you want it to go, doesn't it?
Oh,
You think everybody knows. Like you think and you know what it almost feels like to me when the Olympics didn't go well for me? It was almost like it was like wearing myself inside out or something. I felt like all my emotions could be seen and felt by everyone. I remember getting on the plane and I kind of sat down really low next to this random person and he was there, hi. Like I was an absolute, it looked like I was a fugitive actually. It looked like I was on the run, right? I probably had a hood up and I was there, hey. And he was like, I'm Peter. And I was like, grand. And then I was like, oh, you don't understand. I ran really badly. And he he wouldn't have had a clue. He was there, all right. And I'll never forget it. At some point into the plane, I was going, God love him, right? I was going into the whole thing why my whole life was a disaster, right? And he told me afterwards he'd taken a sleeping tablet and that half the stuff I was saying, he was there, what is going on? But I was there, no, my life's a disaster now. I have to retire from athletics. Like, you've no idea. It's all really dark. And he just looks at me and he goes, are you your one that won that World Indoors? And I said, yeah, that's me. I won that, but I don't know how it was a mistake. And he was like, she can't be that bad. So after I said, I can't be that bad. I'm useless. So yes, myself and Peter met. We exchanged numbers. We started texting. And yeah, we got together after that.
So
I got a husband and not a medal.
Not a medal, yeah.
Yeah.
I was on that flight too, but I didn't get that
Did you get a
lucky.
wife? No?
No, I got
you
no
didn't get a
wife,
wife.
no,
That was
no.
disappointing. You were on that flight?
It was.
The three of us were on that flight,
yeah.
probably not talking to each other because we were too self-absorbed and sad.
All I vividly remember is landing and then we were told what way to exit the airplane, and it was literally like the roll of honour, and the people who did well, right, you're out first, and the rest of us
Yeah.
just fall in behind somewhere. And all I wanted to do,
I did well in Beijing in relative terms, though.
yeah, you were further up then.
I was 8,
Were you further up the line to get off the
probably, but I
plane?
was still depressed because I really thought
You were gonna
I
win a
should have won a
medal?
medal. Like, yeah.
Do you look back and think you should have won a medal in Beijing?
I think I wasn't mature enough again. Like, I took the lead at 14k and I was leading it, and I was just thinking of Cork being full, open top bus, flying back into
Were you
Cork.
genuinely?
Yeah, it was like father head with the award.
Stop
And then
it.
when the Russian went, I was going,
Cork was empty.
why is this happening to me? And then I got 2 cards. I thought I was going to be disqualified.
You backed off then, or you had
Yeah, and then it was just so negative, like, so negative.
to? Yeah.
But again,
mad.
you have to go through, you know. And I was still 8. So
It's unbelievable.
brilliant.
it's still better
It's brilliant.
problems.
Yeah, no,
But
it is brilliant.
I would
It's
have taken
still...
8.
I would have taken it.
And it was Marion who said to me afterwards, she said, you should have won a medal. And Marion missed the Olympics with the relay that year by 1 spot. And we went back to her hostel afterwards, and she said she broke down crying. She said, you were good enough to win a medal. Jared won a medal. You're better than him. And
Oh,
then we were
gosh.
both crying, like.
Stop
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
So
distraught.
Marion, just so everybody to put in, Marion is your wife who also went to the Olympics. She went to the Olympics in 2012 for relay, but at that stage she hadn't gone to the Olympics, but she would have been very involved in your career.
Like, I remember we were out in Fontramore that year training, like, before Beijing, and Marion, the relay team, Gareth Devlin, was he the performance
Yeah,
man?
yeah.
He was meant to organise a race from in Italy, and the race fell through, and it was their last chance to qualify. And we're out, and Mara's only back kind of competing a couple of years, but was always really talented when she was younger. And I said to her up in Fontramore, because I was fixated on winning a medal, like, I was like, fuck, you don't deserve to go to the Olympics now anyway.
You
I said,
didn't.
yeah, I did, yeah.
You
I said, you're
didn't.
only back, like. I says, and Jamie Costin kind of put me aside in the track, and he says, Rob, you fucking need to calm it down a bit now, like.
But can I
But it was
say-
just pure, my mentality.
Yes.
That's where you were at. Yeah.
That's where I was at. And I was like going, sure, you're amateur, you're only after coming back, you don't deserve to go to the Olympics now. And
But I think there's something in what you're saying there that people might not understand, right? So when we started this, in all the different places we've talked about, I think there's different stages and phases and levels, right? The first one is going to the Olympics, ticking the box, being an Olympian.
Oh, yeah,
going
yeah.
there, not necessarily doing anything, but going there and being part of it and being on the team. That's phase 1. And some people, talent-wise, physical and mental, will never get above that because they're actually not any better than that. And there's absolutely no harm or no shame in that. It's like, but that's the level. And I think when I was that kid at 11 watching the Olympics on telly, that's all I wanted. Genuinely, I just wanted to go. I just wanted to have a ticket to be there. But then when I went, the goalpost moved and I wanted to be better than just being there. And I think when we were in the heights of our careers, and I think when we were winning medals, we were so obsessed with the medals that anybody who wasn't trying to win a medal, I think for us, we
yeah.
struggled with that.
To comprehend it, yeah.
We
Yeah.
struggled. And I know that from the two of you, spending time with the two of you. Like, and I was definitely the same where you couldn't relate to that anymore because your mission was to try and somehow get yourself into a final to win a medal. And if someone else was saying they're really, because if you're going there just to be there, it's a completely different experience.
Yeah.
it was totally different. I wouldn't even want to be around that type of person.
But there's nothing wrong with that type
No,
of
there's
person,
not.
but-
It's
but
when
it
you
took
look at
me
it now
years.
and having kids and stuff.
Yeah, of course.
It's like even Marion going to the relay in London as part of the relay team. What a massive achievement to call herself an Olympian.
Massive.
You know, it's huge. But I've seen so many people who've had the potential as well, and they rest in their laurels, like they go to an Olympics, or people get distracted when they go to the Olympics. Even the team this year, and unfortunately, you have to go through some of them.
You're always going to get. Again, it comes back to like your own experiences and what you take from it. There will be people that will come back, learn from it, and actually make a conscious decision to go, right, I'm going to fix things.
And that's a different intelligence, though, isn't it?
Of course it is.
It's
Like,
a different, like, going, okay, what can I
do?
And do I really believe I can do it?
But
like, it's-
sometimes
But that's in all
though-
sports, though.
all sports, but sometimes I look at the Olympics and I look at championships now, and when people, and no matter what the sport is, it's going to sound mad, when they're not devastated, right? If it didn't go to plan, they're not devastated. And part of me looks at that and I have a little bit of regret that at times I wasn't happier with just being grand or just being there. I think unless, after I qualified for my first set of champs, right? take the Olympics being the main one. Unless I was in a final and close to a medal, it was a disappointment.
Yeah, but that's because you taste the success, and when you do that, then you realise like.
Would you have enjoyed the journey more though? Would I have enjoyed that journey, that 12 to 14 years more, if I could have enjoyed the days that didn't go to plan? And I couldn't. I genuinely couldn't. Like, I remember in Beijing, when Beijing didn't go to plan, I couldn't get in the bus back to the village because I couldn't cope with seeing people. I walked.
Yeah.
I
But
walked.
if you've like, and it's like back to your experience in Beijing. I shed a load of skin. Like, I had loads of championships where I was 6th or 4th or top 8, could never get it over the line. And it was going back to having to go through that hardship. It was when I went to Daegu for the World Championships when my mum died. And it was only after that when I came back that it's only sport. It's
only
not a big
sport.
deal. Like, your nerves in Beijing, as hard as that felt to you, is nowhere near as hard as your mum dying.
No.
You know what I mean? It's like, so when that happened to me, like, and I'd love to have that built into the athlete. So, because it's only one part of your personality. I had the attitude afterwards, like, going, I know I want to win. So there's no point in even going on about that. If I do every single thing that I can do, and I used to even look at, say, the Russian system, right? They did 9 out of 10 things good. Like, obviously they doped then on top of it. But all of the other things they did were brilliant. The coaches, the setup, the talent ID. And if I could do them 9 things and perform on the day, and if you didn't, sure, who fucking cares anyway?
But like,
you know, and it took the death of my mother to take away that pressure and kind of go, no, I'll do everything that I can. Going to try my best, and it's come back. Just do your best. Give it your best shot. And it's so simple, like.
Yeah, but
and if someone beats you, sure, what can you do?
But I think, like, you had that, and I remember that really well. And I remember you after that. And I think it took me to kind of retire, have kids, and be in the normal world to look at it now and go, it's just a bit of sport.
But unfortunately, for a sprinter, you probably don't have that time.
No,
well, you don't.
You see, as an endurance athlete, I didn't mature until into my 30s. You're done in 30 years of age as a sprinter. Or, as a footballer, you have to learn really.
Window.
But sure, it was like you guys all went to multiple Olympics. I in my head it was like Beijing, then on to London, Rio, and then retire.
Was it?
Yeah, that's what I thought.
That was the plan.
That was the plan. Went to Beijing, came back from Beijing, devastated, embarrassed, all that. Myself and Charlotte took a holiday. We went to Inishbofin off the west coast of Ireland.
Inishbofin?
Yeah, it was great. I didn't want to travel. I was like, I've been travelling all summer.
Yeah.
No, I just
Inishbofin, that's
so hop in
blown
the
my
car
mind.
and I want to drive. Let's just go. And she'd never been to Ireland, so brought her over there, west coast, and it was true conversation.
How did you meet Charlotte?
We lived together.
Did you?
We were renting in the same house.
She ran, didn't she?
She ran, yeah.
1500.
8s and 15s, yeah. We were housemates. That's how we met.
Nice.
Yeah, it was. Didn't have to have the awkward conversation of like, you know, when we move in together and already were.
You skipped that phase.
It's just handy.
But I remember having a conversation with her, and again, she's just like, you know, she was open. She goes, "You're an absolute nightmare to live with." Like, you know, because I was trying to do everything 110% and blah blah blah.
I remember going up to the institute one day. Me and Marion were there. And Mara turned around to you and she said, "David, Cliona Foley's out there. She's looking for you somewhere." And you were like,
The media's here.
so on edge, like. And you were like,
yeah.
"Dave, I don't give a fuck what you're doing, but I'm doing my own thing." Like,
know,
but there was a lot of pressure.
There was,
was a lot
yeah.
of
But
pressure.
I would have put an awful lot of pressure on myself. But I can remember on Inishbofin and then just kind of chatting and then looking out, like, you know, out to the ocean and just kind of thinking,
Inishbofin.
what am I doing? Like,
Yeah.
you know, if I want to have a career in this, you got to start enjoying it.
Yeah.
And then 09 turned out to be my best year. And then
What you do in 09?
10, I made the final in the Worlds and ran 44 seconds and all that.
Disaster
you know?
of a year for me.
Yeah, it was a great year.
You see the peaks and the troughs that was a great year for me. But I learned.
But that
I learned from.
perspective.
Yeah, it was. You know, but debate like Beijing. Then I drew a line in the sand, and I had good people around me as well. Like, I could be open and honest with my coach at the time, and he could be honest with me, and that's important. You know, and having the kind of like Charlotte there to kind of tell you.
When you trust them, like.
Yeah, you know.
Do you know what though? I had that thing in the middle of my career where I went, I'm miserable and I'm doing what should be the best job in the world. My job is to stand and jump some hurdles. People send me boxes of clothes to wear, sponsors, boxes of lovely clothes. I'm being paid. Okay, I'm not being paid loads. And there's, you know, the financial side of an Olympic sport career is like up and down and down and down and down, and occasionally you might come up, but I remember that after an Olympic Games going, if I can't find joy in this,
Yeah.
what is the point?
But you had 09 was good. I remember
Really good.
off the back of the World Champs in 09, where you were fourth.
Yeah.
And we had a conversation about it. It was only then,
Yeah.
you know, people talk of the financial side of the sport. It was only then that we get into like a multi-year contract
Yeah.
with a gear sponsor. But it gets to that level. You know, you got to go to that level until you have these conversations. Whereas some people kind of think, oh, you're at the Olympic Games. I remember, like, even making the Worlds in 2003 as part of the relay team, I thought I'd made it.
Yeah.
I remember turning to a lad who was involved with a gear brand at the time. I was like, oh, any chance of a sponsorship? And he looked at me and said, you're too slow, David.
Yeah.
Great advice. I was too slow.
Yeah.
You know, and again, you got to work. And I think it's, you know, it's all about that perspective. It's learning from them and from those experiences and kind of dealing with it as well. So it's tough, like.
Yeah, so you didn't end up going to London. So you had a pretty tough experience going to, then you won a medal in London. How did you come out of London then?
I went to Barcelona after Beijing and I had a terrible year in 2009, like fucking really bad anxiety all year.
Go on.
Massive.
Yeah.
Like
Tell us
remember
about
being
that.
away in Mexico and
You never talked about that at the time,
didn't
ever.
I'm really bad anxiety, and not like anxiety, you know, a fella getting anxious before a race or exactly like thinking I was going to die and with irrational thoughts like fucking crying.
And did it just start?
All year it was going on and I used to be thinking I was going to get a heart attack and really bad in Poland, in Spain. I remember being in Murcia racing a 50k there on my birthday and I was just in floods of tears on the phone to Marion and I couldn't stop crying and the rational side of my brain was going, you're fucking mad.
You wouldn't have lasted long in Hell Week.
Huh? We'll get back to that. I called that one wrong. But I was really
But what?
but I think it was subconsciously because I was disqualified in Athens and the year later I was disqualified in Athens. The year later in Helsinki I was in 7th position and I owed a load of money. When you're on about finance now, I owed, like, load of money. It's 7 or 8 grand to an athlete is huge.
Yeah.
Visa card was maxed out, owed a credit union a couple of grand and I'm in the race, 7th position. My grant is going up to 20 grand.
Maths, are you?
Yeah. Prize money is about 8 grand. That's 28 grand. I'll get another money for get money for the
Awful
coach.
stress.
So I was 38,000 euros richer with 2.5k to go, and I got disqualified. And I spent a month in the mobile home down in Youghal, back down there now for misery as well
Youghal.
as partying, like. And I used to go to the beach every night crying, like, just really fucking bad, like. And then I missed the following year. So then the near missing, like, I was 6th in Osaka, 8th in Beijing at 2009. I was back working on a building site with my brother, delivering coal on a Saturday with my brother-in-law back in 2005. So I think subconsciously time was after running out and I wasn't important. I was back destined to be a nobody.
Yeah.
Do you know?
Because, okay, here's a statement. Do people remember you if you don't have the medals afterwards?
No.
Your opinion? And the sport. Say if you come out of Olympic sport, whatever Olympic sport is, and you've won no medals at any champs, what's your legacy?
No, it's all about medals.
So, like, I was fourth so many, and that's a good question because in London, so I was fourth twice in Barcelona in 2010. I was fourth in the European Cup in 2010. I led it for 19k and I got passed by 3 with a kilometre to go. Fourth. And I
Could
remember
you see the money just going
there was
away?
it was just, I just wanted one medal. I just wanted them. And you were after winning medals. Back to jealousy. Like, you were world, I seen you being world champion and I knew you growing up and you were so far removed that I probably wouldn't have gone up and talking to you. You felt like it was, you were so
You're not
far,
on the same page.
No.
But I remember bumping into you after I won Worlds. we grew up together. And I was there, hey Rob! And you were like, hi.
Really?
And it was in DCU, and I was there, and he was like thinking like, oh my god, I can't wait to talk to him now about winning Worlds, and you were like, no,
you would have been different. Like I was,
you were, yeah.
It's mad.
I remember realizing that I was like, God, there's something going on with him.
And that's gas because my family would have said that to me. My sister, she'd kill me. It's like, Robert, you know, like you're still our brother, like. Because the other people's perception is that you've changed and you haven't. So I think 2009 that was awful, and then the next
that was
year,
the anxiety,
massive anxiety all year. Like it was awful, really bad.
And physical symptoms.
Oh yeah, I remember ringing the doctor. Like I won't say his name. He'd been a doctor on the Irish Olympic team, and I told him about all of this, and he asked me had I suicidal tendencies and stuff, and he's like, "Fucking no." He goes, "I don't ever want to die. it's the opposite actually. Like, I was like, fuck,
I want to live forever.
Yeah, I want to live forever. Like, he didn't get me at all, and then I just lost. And I actually just ended up googling it and getting some books and dealt with it by kind of going, when you did get that anxiety, when you really think you're gone, that you had to call it on, and you have to call it on, because if you didn't die the last time, it's irrational. So the next time it comes, it's like, all right, I'm ready to go now, take me. And then it doesn't take you, you're not gone, and you build up your strength and your resilience that way. So then, say 2010, I had fourth, then I went Barcelona, finished fourth in the 20k, and then I raced at 50k, finished fourth again. And then the Russian was done for drugs later, and I was upgraded to third. It was so hard, like.
So when you came out of London, just for context so people know, you were third, but you didn't get third on the day because you got upgraded.
Yeah,
so you came out of London without a medal, another fourth in a series of top 5 finishes in your career. Bridesmaid, never the bride, almost getting on the podium. So what was the month like after that?
But the big thing, so when I go back to Barcelona, and I was lucky to a point, like I'd normally do the 20k and I'd fucking be done and I'd be gone out on the rip. But Marion was running in the 400 and I qualified for the 50k earlier on that year, and he says, I'll give the 50 a pop here, and qualified anyway. I can't go out because Mara's competing.
Can't go on the lash.
I can't go on the lash. So I'll do
European champs.
And I judged it so well. Like, it was absolutely brilliant. I had more power for it. I had more pace.
Well, there was
more
did you have expectation on you?
I knew I was good, like, but I had the fueling strategy, and I knew I was going to move up to do 50k anyway, and I ended up coming through the field and I finished fourth. But it was such a brilliant performance, and it changed all. And like, for any athletes going to the Olympics now, it changed my perspective on things. Then I was like going, how can I be crying for this fourth and I'm buzzing for this fourth?
I think perspective can be hard though.
Yeah, but and I was like going, and then obviously my mum died the next year, and then I kind of realised, if I do everything that I can and deliver, you can't. Like, medals are so hard to win. And I went to London and I raced a 20k in London and I finished 9th. I walked 80 minutes, so 4-minute Ks. And it was 30 degrees as well, it was hot. Finished 9th, and I had such a brilliant race. And I was like, that was a good performance. And I said, if I do the same in the 50k, so I broke the Irish record by 7 minutes. The Russian who won it, Derval, he did his last 10k was faster. And you know now from running marathons, Dave. So his last 10k was faster than his 10k PB.
Like,
so you're like going, and I executed the race perfectly. It was a brilliant performance. People were saying, oh, if there was another lap, you'd have winning. If there was another lap, I'd have claps in. I got everything out of myself, and I was like,
so you were okay. So you came out of London okay.
I was delighted.
Yeah, like, but the sad thing is like, all those fourths and fifths, they were great results. But yes, the general public wouldn't really.
They wouldn't have known.
They wouldn't know, bar the fact that you now have a medal.
Yeah, in that moment. But I realised that after London, a month later, no medal, you're forgotten about again.
Yeah.
And but it gave me the massive drive then for the next year to go on and win world championships.
Yeah.
You know.
But it is funny, like, that point. You know, I would say one of the best performances of my career was a fourth at a World Outdoors. Again, you know, after coming off a bad Olympics. And nobody in general. I remember coming home from the airport.
Oh, I remember I felt so sorry for you that year, because Olive Loughnane is living in Cork and she's a Loughrea, Galway woman. You know, she was cute out now, like
silver, but got
she was silver in Berlin, and Olive got Cork Athlete of the Year, and Derval was after breaking the Irish record.
And coming
she finished fourth in the World Championships. And she was a Cork woman, and I was like, oh man, this is awful, like, it's awful.
So I remember you were telling me a lot, but she had joint allegiance at that time. She was giving it half the Galway, half the Cork.
She played both cards, like.
But you know, I suppose I would have come out of, I think for me, the London Olympics, and something I always find, so the Olympics is only on every 4 years, right? And I would have won medals and championships in between and just never quite hit an Olympics in the same way. But I knew, I think, in the London Olympics, I had peaked as a sprinter. You know, we've talked about that window. I knew my window.
What age are you?
Well, looking back, I wasn't that old, but everyone was telling me I was ancient. I was probably 31.
It's old enough for a sprinter, though, is it?
Not anymore. Not anymore. But I was... But, you know, I remember going into it and going... I was a bit resigned to the fact that it wasn't quite there. Did all right.
But you can sense it in your body when it's starting to go.
I knew my body wasn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I remember coming out of that Olympics, and
That's interesting, no.
I knew it wasn't quite there, and Peter was at that Olympics as well. So he sailed at that Olympics and he sailed at 2008. And I said to him, I said, right, he had a car in the UK, you know, because he had been over there training and all this kind of stuff. So his car was over there, and I said, this is mad, right? This is how I felt like I said goodbye to the Olympics. I said, right, let's leave at 5 o'clock in the morning when no one's up. And he was just like, right, okay. And I said, let's just get the tube, go get the car and take the ferry back, and we'll be in West Cork by tomorrow evening. Yeah. So that I was sad, like I was really sad. I was like, you've had such a good career and you needed, this was the cherry, this was the icing on the cake. You haven't quite been able to ice the cake, and now just go. And I remember leaving the Olympic Village, like dragging the bag, just myself and Peter. Everyone was asleep. There was people coming in who had been out in the lash. So people coming back at 5 o'clock in the morning, lying out like, and waving at you, and not Irish people, just random people everywhere. And I dragged the bag to the tube.
Cleaners.
Just random people, like, dragged the bag. And by the next evening, I was sitting in West Cork again, like you're in Ishboffin, and I was looking at the water, and I was like, was the career worth it, you know? I remember.
So had you mentally made that was it?
I didn't know. I knew I wasn't going to go to Rio. I knew my Olympic career.
Your body's.
My body was
I
done.
watched you guys in London. I was asked then to do RTE stuff in the studio.
My last interview was with you.
It was, yeah.
Yeah. But London, when I think back to London, imagine I walked 3:37 for 50k, right? Which you were, so that's passing through the Martin in 3:01.
Yeah.
With another 5 miles to go. Do you know? So when people
don't know that.
They don't know that. So when people go back to the race walking, it's like going, okay, let's put a bit of context here now on the standards. Like, I can't. It's not my responsibility that there's nobody else good in the country. Do you know?
Yeah,
3:01 going through it. Like, I'd struggle to run it now. But I genuinely felt afterwards, like I was going to retire afterwards, and Marion said no. And I said, if I can do the exact same thing with no fuss, do all with the same motivation, the same drive, stay injury free, by default, imagine going into Russia, being able to take the Russians on, and 3 of them will never perform. One fella will always crumble, like. And I says, I can win a medal in Russia, like. But after that championship, when I won in Russia, your body I was fucking 35 as well.
Your body can only take so much, I think. And I think I'd asked a lot of my body. I sometimes look back now, again, you've more perspective. I think at times the level I was at for my physicality, I don't think physically, I think mentally I dragged myself to it. And yeah, I think that, like you, I think the body can only take so much, and the mind might still be there. But you, tell us about London for you. Because 2012 was massive from an Irish context as well, because it's across the water.
Did you not qualify for London, Dave?
No, so what happened was, like, it came off 6th in Berlin.
See, we're all so into ourselves, I don't even know.
Yeah,
that's the way.
This was the World Championships when he was working with RTE.
You're very much in your own kind of world, so I don't expect people to,
I
mean? Like,
but I'd have taken that as an insult when I was competing. It's only when you get older. Now you're grand.
But I watched, like, I tore my soleus in 2011 when I was in America, and then missed that season. And I can remember I tore my soleus. I was like, it's all over. Did the
pressure come on then massively?
Massively. I remember going home. I was living by myself in an apartment, a 1-bed. Like, the group I was in the States, they didn't mix. We trained, and then that was it, dispersed.
Okay.
There was no community, no nothing. Going back and Googling jobs, I was like, this is done. I'm
in
done.
the dark.
Yeah, I'm going to lose my funding. Cash hurt. Just like, it was a horrible existence. I used to get up on the weekend. We trained Monday to Friday, 2 days off. And
Where were you? In Atlanta?
Claremont.
Where's that?
Florida.
Okay.
Just outside Orlando.
It sounds so glamorous, doesn't it?
No, horrible place.
I know, yeah.
I get up on a Saturday, I'd watch 3 Premier League games back to back because I had nothing else to do. Like, it was horrendous. And then tore the soleus.
And were you going out with Charlotte at this stage?
Yeah. She was working with the British Olympic Association. She was all about the Olympics.
She was getting really excited.
She was like, oh, this is great. Oh, I met this person and blah, blah, blah. Like, entering the team and all this. And I was just going, oh, I'm not even going to make it. This is 2011.
And what month is this?
I tore that in, that would have been kind of like about February, March time.
So that's your season.
This is 2011. Right? And in my head,
still had time.
I had time, but I was like, I need to qualify.
Mentally.
I wanted to qualify in 2011, get
and
have it
done.
Plan. Relocated back to Loughborough 2012, and on St Patrick's Day 2012, toured again.
No.
And I was like, oh, it's bad. And I was chasing it.
What age are you?
I would have been, this would have been about 28.
Oh, so you're prime, like.
28, 29, yeah. And that's the thing. I really believed I could make a podium.
Because I always remember, and you can, like, I remember, like, watching you running and how good you were and seeing all of the success that Rooney would have gotten and went on, and I'd have thinking you were better than him. And I used to always go, fuck that. Me and Ray would have these conversations.
Yeah.
I was like,
But I was tracking, that's the thing, I was progressing.
what was the difference in, say, somebody like you and him? Like, obviously, you were friends and you were training partners.
We were great. We were great training buddies, like, you know. We worked really well together.
Were you better than him? Don't be modest.
Rooney was talented. Rooney was naturally, like, he was gifted.
Can I give context to Rooney for anyone who doesn't know? So Rooney was your training partner. So he was basically the David Gillick of Britain.
He had Irish parents, thank God.
Yeah, Mullingar, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Thank God he didn't run for Ireland.
And you guys were training, and both of you basically were the two of the top 4 best 400 meter runners in Europe. Two of the top 8 probably in the world.
Yeah.
At 400.
Why did he go on to win all the medals and you didn't?
Well, he won the European Outdoors 3 times. Or was it twice or 3 times? Which is impressive. Twice, I think, sorry. I could be doing it with discredit here. I don't know. Like, I was obviously 4 years older than him, so we weren't, like, he came in as a hot kind of teenager, world junior
so
and
he's
stuff
4
like
years
that. He
younger,
had the pedigree, broke Roger Black's junior record, made the Olympic final in Beijing.
See, this is just my perception of how good you were.
Yeah.
You know, without having any facts
he was
about anyone
naturally
else.
gifted, you
Was
know.
he? Okay.
And we trained really well together, and it wasn't much just about like me beating him or anything like that. It was like when I think back to 2012, it was hard. I was in the UK, I was training in the UK, and I wasn't going to the party. You know, everyone else has gone down to London for the big party. I wasn't.
And how did you feel?
Oh, it was terrible. I was in Loughborough. Like, this is where everyone in Loughborough was
holding camps
all
and everything of Olympic teams.
And I didn't want to go home. I really didn't want to go home. So I actually
Why?
went
Just
because
feeling
everybody
shamed
at home was talking about the Olympics. I wasn't going. I wasn't qualified. And I went up and I stayed with Charlotte's parents because I just didn't want to go home. And then I was asked to do RT coverage, and I was like, right, I'll do that, and went home.
So you were working for RT at the
I
Olympics?
was in studio, yeah.
How was that?
And my mum and dad, I remember, had gone on holidays, and my aunt had come over from France. My mum had given her the house, like, you know. Actually, mum and dad were they went to London because they all had tickets because David's gone. And I stayed with my brother and got up every day, went into the studio, and I was watching all my friends and training partners and competitors compete.
It's terrible.
It was horrible. But then at the same time, I was like, I'm going to get back. I'm going to get back. I'm going to get back. And then I changed things and I went to Australia, went down to Canberra and trained there, and Charlotte came with me. And we loved it down there, different environment, got myself back into really good shape. And then...
When was this, 2013?
This is 2013. Okay. So that would have been Worlds.
Yeah.
And I was all the British lads came down, 400 metre lads came down, I did a session with them, smoked them, absolutely annihilated them. Last session, tore my Achilles.
No.
Yeah, I had a hairline tear, and
when were you in Australia? So
2013. That was my last year, yeah. And
I was in Australia 2012 as well.
I was approaching
December,
30
January.
as well, so I was a bit like, wasn't making any money, had lost my funding in one phone call from like, you know, the top whack. What was it, 40 grand top whack?
Yeah.
Down to zero in one phone call. And I knew it was coming, like, because I hadn't performed, hadn't raced. And then that was it. I just was like, I'm done with this. I've had enough. And like, it's interesting here about kind of you guys and like you making that decision to kind of go back, look at the water. What am I doing here? Where am I going? I felt I didn't have that. It was like, it was all
It was
gone.
taken from you.
Just, my body just couldn't do it anymore. And that was the hard part. And I think, you know, retirement, right, I'm done with this. Yeah, like I struggled with that decision that I didn't make that decision, and then resented the sport initially and kind of put me in. I got out,
you know? And that like my last year, which my last interview was with you in London. I was 7th in the World Championships. I was like, maybe I'll get the buzz back at the Olympics, and I just knew what was gone. And I could have.
I remember talking to you, and I remember actually. I remember you walking through the mix zone, and I was kind of like, how do I approach it? Because I'm knowing you, and I was like, I didn't want to ask the question.
Yeah. Are you done?
Are you done?
Yeah.
But everyone at RT were like, ask him.
Really?
And I was like,
I was done.
I know him. I'm not.
Do you know what the hard thing was? So we all know, like, growing up as athlete, you're so poor, and the value of even 500 quid that you can't get for camps, that we've all fought for. Now I'm on a grant of 40,000 euros tax free. I've 10 grand for a coach. I've loads of other sponsorship stuff coming in that made me like wealthy enough, like.
Comparatively
to what we had.
Yeah.
And for the biggest thing for me to say, I knew my body, and I was still competing at a high level, but I wasn't enjoying it.
Yeah.
And I turned away all of that. Like, I could have bluffed on for a year and collected the money. So I went from basically being from that athlete to being unemployed, and money just dripping out every month, you know.
Yeah.
But you know, and it's probably a good place to wrap this. It's funny. I think when like when you're done, you know you're done.
Yeah.
And then
And if you're not enjoying it,
and there's a period of time then I think where you have to sit with it, then announce it or tell people or whatever, and then you go into, okay, what does life look like now? Which I think is a good place to stop, because that's a whole other conversation.
It's a whole other conversation.
All right, lads, that was enjoyable. See you next time.
good luck.
Good luck. Goodbye.